No, I'm not taking it.
But he's, see, actually, I've been taking note of the last couple of days, but he likes to walk. Yeah, I do. That we have now, but 50 pounds. I can do it. Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, for you. No. Thank you. And I'm like, and I've never seen you once.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here today at our semi-annual or biannual, every other year or so. We do a National Crime Victims' Rights Week ceremony to celebrate citizens of courage and members of our victim service community, and this year as well honoring a member of the media who has highlighted crime victims' issues in our community. My name is Megan Reinschild. I manage the countywide Victim Witness Assistance Program in the District Attorney's Office, and it's my honor to introduce our boss and our District Attorney, Joyce Dudley.
Good morning. Thankfully, few people know the pain and the anguish of being a crime victim. Painfully, several people in this room know exactly how that feels. Because they are victims themselves, or they're victims of loved ones, or they are the professionals who work in this field, and a few select members of our media. Heartfelt thanks to them and to all of you for joining us to commemorate National Crime Victims Week, April 7th through 19th. Now we're here today to honor the voices of victims, to recognize their journey and appreciate our partners in the community who validate our collective mission, which is to protect our most vulnerable people in our community. This is, in fact, the why of what we do at the District Attorney's Office. Since 1978, the District Attorney's Office has been designated by the County Board of Supervisors as the primary local provider for crime victim services. I'm proud to say that our office was one of the first agencies in California, and in fact in the nation, to offer a voice to victims. And we've done that through the criminal justice process via our Victim Witness Assistance Program. Now, every day, our crime victim advocates, and many of whom are here today, work to absolutely ensure that victims' views are heard, their rights defended, and that every conceivable service becomes available to them as they go through the arduous process of overcoming and surviving what has been for many of them, and will remain for many of them, the very worst day of their lives. And so I'm going to ask you to join me in honoring those people who do this work every day. Would people from our Victim Witness Office please stand? Never say thank you enough to all of you. I certainly can't. Today, I have the privilege of also recognizing several individuals, and these individuals define courage, resilience, and commitment to this very cause. First, we will recognize our two Citizens of Courage. The Citizens of Courage Award is a special award granted to a victim of crime who has shown strength and resilience in the aftermath of an horrific crime. This is someone who inspired us, those of us who work day in and day out with crime and with victims, with their journey and an inspiring example of human resistance. The Victim Service Award is presented to an outstanding professional that demonstrates exemplary work, dedication, and commitment to upholding the rights of victims, a person who honors the voices of victims within the context of the criminal justice system, a system which, in my opinion, by its very nature, can successfully silence the voices of crime victims. Today, the District Attorney's Office also recognizes members of the media who give a voice to the voiceless, carrying that message across the community and bringing awareness to important issues facing our communities. Our first Citizen of Courage Award is presented to Sarah San Juan. Sarah, would you please join me? And who's the victim witness advocate that worked with Sarah? Would you join me too, Terry? Stay right there with her. Let me tell you a little bit about Sarah San Juan. Sarah San Juan tragically lost her husband to a horrific homicide that occurred in March of 2017. Hard to believe, 3 years ago. Sarah's husband was Tony, and Tony was gunned down, leaving behind his wife and 2 beautiful children. During the lengthy court process, Sarah showed grace and courage despite her own grieving and remained a source of strength for not just her family, but our entire community. In January of 2019, the defendant, Jonathan Hiley, was convicted of first-degree murder and was sentenced to 54 years to life. Sarah, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you for having me here today. This is not a situation I would ever expect myself to be in, but I'm very proud and honored to be recognized in this way. It was not a difficult journey, but I wouldn't be standing here today doing as well as I am if it weren't for the strength of my community, my close friends and family. And I also want to give a special thanks to Terry Zuniga, who held my hand and walked me through the court process, DA Knudsen, and Detective Flick, who helped me bring some closure and peace to this situation. Thank you.
Inspiring, right? Next, I am here to honor and recognize Serenity Lopez. Serenity, would you join me? Serenity Lopez was understandably emotionally destroyed after discovering her husband sexually abused her oldest daughter. As a result of this crime, Serenity and her 3 children were forced to move out of their home and into a homeless shelter. Serenity was broke and broken then, but today she has successfully built a new life where she and her children are both safe and financially secure. Serenity exemplifies the very definition of the word resilient. And on January 2019, the defendant, Pedro Ortiz, pled guilty and was sentenced to 22 years in prison. Would you like to say something, Serenity? Don't need to, sure.
Thank you for this award. I'm honored and proud and grateful for it. I want to thank Sylvia and Ben for helping, and especially Camila. She's been here since day one. I know that this road has been very long, but thank you for everyone here that has done their part on helping with my situation as well as everyone else's that has this. You guys are making a difference in the world. So thank you guys.
I was amiss at not having Sylvia come up right from the beginning, so I didn't want to make the same mistake twice. So on behalf of the District Attorney's Office, on behalf of Sylvia and everybody here and everybody in our community, you're inspiring. Okay, well, our next award goes to a buddy of mine. Our next award is the Victim Service Award presented to former Lompoc Police Chief Pat Walsh. Pat, would you join me up here? Pat is being recognized for his dedicated service to the community of Lompoc and his sensitivity toward crime victims. Pat has now moved from his prior post as Lompoc's police chief to the police chief of Menifee. Pat will be deeply missed by many. I don't know many more than me, but will be missed by many for many reasons. Amongst them is his compassion for crime victims. In his position as police chief of Lompoc, Pat was unique. Pat worked hard to fulfill his commitment to public safety, but he served his crime victims. Amidst all his other duties, he never lost sight of their individual needs and wants, and he used all the power he had to empower them, to help them traverse the rigorous road from victims to survivors. Would you like to say something?
Sure. Thank you, Joyce. I'm actually very humbled to get this award today, especially being in your presence as victims. This is a good reminder that all of us in public safety should remember this is why we're here, for the victims. And so I accept this award, but quite frankly, I accept it on behalf of the men and women of Lompoc Police Department because they're a stunning group of people that really care about their community. So thank you.
Out that the new Lompoc chief is here, is there. Would you please stand up and welcome? For those of you that don't know, his name is Joe Marinari. And Joe was the assistant chief, I believe. Was that his position prior to this? So just coming in to fill those big shoes and do it beautifully. Okay, lastly, 5 years ago, I began to recognize a few unique members of our media when they used their power to bring awareness to victims' rights and issues. We don't always give this award every year. We give this award when someone knocks our socks off, and that happened. This year we chose to recognize Joe Payne. Joe, would you join me? Joe formerly wrote for the Santa Maria Sun. During his residency there, he did an outstanding job reporting on domestic violence. As is true for many violent crimes, domestic violence often goes unreported because victims rightfully fear for their lives and the lives of their loved ones. This often hidden crime was brought out of its ugly shadows by Joe's thorough and thoughtful reporting. Joe, would you like to say something?
Hello. I'm very honored to be here. I'm very nervous, so I apologize for that. We're not used to being the center of attention journalists. We're used to being, behind the desk and behind the violin and all that. So I'm very grateful to the sources I had on this story, the victims who came forth and told me their stories. One was involved with domestic violence solutions. She sought shelter at their shelters, and she sat with me and shared her story. One survivor called me out of the blue because it was Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and she shared me her story. So they were a big part of the story, and I really appreciate them giving me their voice. I'm just relating what they told me, right? And I also want to commend the agencies that are represented here today that are committed to transparency. I find it really fun. I get to share the day with you, Chief Walsh. Chief Walsh always called us back right before deadline. It wasn't him. He had somebody do it, Mr. Martin, of course. And Joyce, you as well. You know well our annoying Tuesday deadline that we had. And we've always got a call back from you. I just believe when we have agencies that respect transparency in the press, everything can get better. And that's how we improve our society. So I appreciate it.
Okay, so thank you all for coming today and recognizing these outstanding individuals and our community service partners. Go in peace. Thank you.
Of course.